Okay, we will call this water utility meeting to order. We're just going to look for, do I need to go through all this? We don't need to do that.
No, I'd say just,
Yeah, we're just looking for a motion to defer it for a couple weeks. Okay, thank you. Water, yeah, that's right, okay. And second, can I have a seconder? Thank you. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye, contrary? Motion carried. Motion to adjourn. Thank you. Okay, we will call the Committee of the Whole, March 26th, to order. I would like to acknowledge that we're holding this meeting on the unceded lands of the Mi'kmaq. Record of attendance, we're looking for a motion for Councillor Cleveland. Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Okay. And approval of agenda. So additions or deletions, we're going to add 11A, Garden Club. We have a letter that was put on our desks. And anything else? Anyone want to add or delete? Okay, motion to approve the agenda with the change. Okay, so moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Okay, so we have budget preparation. Did you want to do something with that? Did you want to do the slideshow or,
I'll do the
okay,
slideshow if you're,
all right,
if I have your approval, go ahead and do that.
good to go.
So most years, last year was an exception, most years I give a little presentation of municipal statistics ahead of you folks getting into doing your budget deliberations. And the reason is kind of to give you a little bit of context in terms of some things that have been going on inside the organization and some trends and some things that have been happening outside the organization that could affect your thinking or your decision-making around the budget. So I'll try to swing through this fairly quickly, but I'd prefer that if you have questions that you stop me and we talk about it. None of this stuff is necessarily going to swing your decisions wildly, but there may be things in here that you have questions about or you find interesting. Just sing out and I'll stop and we'll chat. So internal indicators that we have that we keep an eye on are things like our tax base, our tax rate, the effect of the cap, receivables, room levy, and transfer tax. So in terms of residential tax rates, this is the history going back 20 years in terms of where our residential tax rate has been. You'll see back in 2005, the rate was above, I think it was $1.86. And that came about as a result of a significant one-year increase in the tax rate. We went from, I think we increased the rate 1 year 25 cents. And you're asking yourself, why would council increase the tax rate 25 cents? Well, we were using reserves to balance the operating budget, and we had no money going into capital out of revenue at that time. And so we did a little exercise with the help of Municipal Finance Corporation to look at our debt affordability. And what we found is that we were on an unsustainable path, and the recommendation to council was to consider a 25-cent increase to get us back on the right path. And council of the day made that significant decision. And as you can see, for the next decade or so, that was slowly eroded, and we dropped all of that off the tax rate. Now, in recent years, we put a little bit back on, and that's been helpful. But that's just sort of the history on our residential tax rates. What's happened with assessment? Well, for a long time it was flat from 2010 to 2021, 22. it was flat, but then things changed, right? COVID happened and housing crisis and so on, and residential market values increased dramatically, and so too then did assessments, although there is a lag there of a year or two. The two lines that you see on the graph, the blue line represents total property assessment, residential. The green line represents taxable. And the difference between them is what we call the cap effect. That's the amount of residential property assessment that we are not taxing, are not able to tax because of the cap legislation. This is another way of looking at it. This is just the cap value. So we were for many years well below $20,000, below $10,000, $10 million, I apologize, $10 million. And we were the least affected municipality in the entire province by the cap. Well, why was that? It's because we suffered a significant decline in property values in and around 2008, 2009, and that eroded in the years following. Our property values were decreasing and certainly not increasing as much as CPI. And so we eroded that cap effect. Recent years, that's gone up, and so you can see there's roughly $110 million worth of residential property that is not being taxed. Well, that sounds like a good news story if you're a property owner that's not being taxed. The unfortunate thing is that we don't, we set a budget, we look to generate revenues to cover our costs. And so if some people are not paying any or paying less, other people are paying more. So the tax rate has to be artificially higher than it would otherwise need to be. And so that is on an upswing, and that makes things a little imbalanced in the general public. What happens if you don't move, you stay in your home, you benefit by having more and more of your assessment not taxable. When you come into the community and you buy a home, when a home trade changes hands, the cap disappears entirely. And so you could have two homes on the same street, both assessed at, let's say, $250,000, one with $50,000 capped, and the other just sold. So one person is paying taxes on a $250,000 assessment, the other on $200,000, and receiving the same services. That is the imbalancing effect that the cap has. Residential assessment changes. This is on a percentage basis. This is what's happened, and you can see again just another way of looking at what's happened with residential assessment. You'll see there were a few years there where it was below zero. That was decreasing assessments. Not good. Average residential tax bill. So the average residential property in the town of Yarmouth right now is valued at $231,000, and this is what's happened with their tax bill. So that property, and I'm looking at Lindsay because she made this graph, the property in 2014 was valued at $231,000. Now, okay, so this is going backwards. What was their assessment? What was their tax bill, their actual tax bill in 2014? I can tell you in the last 5 years, so 2021 to 2026, their tax bill has increased a total of 12.5% or 2.5% a year. So not so out of line with CPI essentially. And before that, it was even flatter. Commercial tax rates. This is what's happened with commercial tax rates. And so one of the things that happened that precipitated the large decrease in commercial tax rates had to do with the wastewater operation. So wastewater used to be unintentionally subsidized by the tax rate. So we charge a wastewater rate to our residents and our businesses. It wasn't enough to cover the wastewater costs. And so in order to cover wastewater costs, which is part of our general operation, the balance was coming largely out of the commercial tax rate. So that was backed out, and the wastewater operation is self-funding, as it should be. And at the time, our thinking was that we might apply to the Utility Review Board or to the province to change legislation to allow us to have the wastewater regulated much like the water utility, so that you have a third party that is approving your rates and ensuring that you're charging sufficient rates to cover cover the required costs, but not so much that it's an excessive burden on the ratepayers. We didn't go ahead with that exercise. There's certainly some conversations happening around the province about the possibility of towns being able to do that. It seems like the people I talk to, administrators, they think it's a good idea. But the provincial legislation doesn't exist today to allow that to happen, so you'd have to do it one at a time through private members' bill, or lobby for general legislation that would allow any town or municipality with a wastewater operation to apply for regulation. And this is what's happened with the commercial assessments. They have been flat historically for a very long time, and then in the last few years we've received a bump. And if you look at the scale there, you'll see that the bump, I believe we're looking at about $30 to $35 million over the last 4 years. Taxes receivable. This is kind of a good, yeah, go ahead. Your microphone.
Thank you. The increase over the last 4 or 5 years, is that mostly attributed to property values going up or new development?
Great question. I'm looking at Lindsay in case she knows the answer. She doesn't know the answer, and neither do I off the top. I'd have to dig further into that.
Yeah.
My guess would be values, market values, because that's what we saw on the residential side primarily.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the reports that we get from the Economic Development Department over the last 3 or 4 years, and, you know, I don't recall a tremendous amount of commercial building, but it's just a good question to ask.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
So taxes receivable, we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but back in 2010, our taxes receivable were significant. Council approved some policy changes that allowed us to tighten that up, and we're in a pretty good spot now. As you'll see in a later slide, we're well below the provincial threshold and the average receivable for towns, so in terms of percentage of tax levy. So room levy, this is the marketing levy that hotels charge under our bylaw to visitors who are spending a night in one of our registered accommodations. So up until the last year, these were hotels with 20 rooms or more. With legislation changes and bylaw implementation, this now includes Airbnb properties and all properties that are they're selling overnight accommodation. There are some exceptions if you're in accommodation for more than 30 days, certain exemptions. So the revenue from this has gone up dramatically, and that is good news for our tourism association, because they use that money to promote the area, and it certainly supports their budget. The other thing about the room levy is this is just the town of Yarmouth piece. So the District of Yarmouth and the District of Argyll have also implemented room levies, and they are collecting money in addition to this for YASTA. This is a graph. It might be hard to read, but I think if you squint your eyes, you get the general idea. So the two bars that are lined up on each of these are all property sales along the x-axis, the horizontal axis. Each one has 2 bars. The blue bar is the sale price, and the green bar is the assessed value. And so when you look at this kind of squinty-eyed, you see that the blue bars tend to extend above the green bars, which means properties are selling above assessed value. What that means is ultimately in the end is there will be more cap value in the future, because the market is above assessed value currently. That'll drive the assessments up, and that will result in more tax assessment being capped. But it is a good news story, because individuals who have homes are realizing a return. They're able to extract equity when they sell their property. Yeah, it's a good news story. Yep.
What was that on Deeds?
I'm looking for guidance on how to read this, so,
Yeah, me too.
All right, sorry.
no, okay. So we go from 1 to 129, those are sales?
Individual sales,
Those are the individual sales over what period of time?
1 year.
1 year, okay,
Okay.
perfect, thank you.
That was my question, too.
Yep. And so up the vertical axis is the actual value, so. Got it? All right. Sales variance. Okay, so sales variance. I know this has to do with, Lindsay? What are we showing here?
This is awesome.
So across the x-axis is the positive or negative variance, assessed value, and sales price. So if it is a positive variance, it means it's sold above assessed value, and by what percentage, and up the vertical axis is the actual sales price. Okay, so seeing so many on the right side of the vertical axis indicates what the other chart also showed, is that many properties are selling well above assessed value. And if you look at the ones that are more than 50%, for instance, above assessed value, there are quite a few blue dots there. So, and they are up and down the spectrum in terms of the value. Okay? De-transfer tax. So as a result of those sales, when a property sells in the town of Yarmouth, in most occasions, we receive a 1% tax from that, and you can see that now we're receiving amounts that are in the $300,000 range. For a long time, we were 150 to 200. So that's a reflection of increased value, and that is a tax that is charged. Your Worship, correct me if I'm wrong, but in every municipality in Nova Scotia.
Now,
There was a holdout.
yeah.
So inflation rates, this is an outside indicator. This is just a thing for your information, just a chart of inflation rates going back 16 years, annual inflation rates. And we obviously had a spike during COVID there, but currently we're down, I guess you would say, at the Bank of Canada target. We don't know where it's going. Right? We all watch the news and we all ponder what is the future. We don't know where this is going to go in the future, but yeah, just something to think about. Unemployment rates. So you can see on the right-hand side of this chart, there is a slight uptick there. And again, we don't know the future, but ahead of that, the last few years, there is a slight uptick. But I would point out that if you look where we are today versus where we've been historically, back to 2010, unemployment rates are not high right now, but again, we don't know the future, and there are certainly concerns. A couple other, so this is real GDP showed here, as well as the unemployment rate on the same graph. They kind of inverse mirror each other. Transit, so another internal indicator. What's going on with ridership? Ridership is the green line, and no surprise there, the ridership has taken a sharp upward turn. That is a result of the decision of council to eliminate transit rider fees, and you can see how much that has affected the use of the buses. That's a tremendous success. And the blue line represents the number of days that we've been without service, the number of days we've had to cancel service, and in 2025 was 6 days. That is far better than we were in 2023, when we had 2 old buses that were not dependable, and we saw almost a full month of, well, more than a month really, with 24 service days a month. So yeah, so good news story there. So the municipal indicators, these are indicators that the province calculates from our financial statements, that are audited financial statements that we submit every year. This is the 23-24 set of indicators that we received just this recent December. So there's a bit of a lag between the indicators and our current situation, but nonetheless, They go to the trouble of calculating these, so I'll go to the trouble of walking through them with you. And if there are any questions, I will try to answer, or we will take away the questions and we'll try to bring back an answer. So the house is kind of an analogy that the province uses to say, you know, you got to have your house in order. And so it has 3 steps. It has the foundation, it has the main structure, and then it has the roof. And so we start with the foundation. There are 3 base FCIs, financial condition indicators. One is the reliance on a single business or institution. And if you look at the column, the 23-24 column, that is the most recent one, and it is a green indicator. The green indicator means that you are below, you're in good shape. The 3 colors they use green, you're in great shape. Yellow, you're still okay, you're around the average. And red means you should be talking about it. You should understand why you're red. It is a caution sign. So reliance on a single business or institution, I think the indicator doesn't turn yellow until it's 10%. We're well below that. We don't rely on a single business. That can be a problem for a town, for instance, that relies on a single employer for its tax base.
So it's funny, people, a lot of people will say, you know, you need to go out and get a big industry. And we keep saying no, because when you get that big industry and it leaves, it takes everything with it. So
Yep.
I love that we're green here.
Yeah, now we do have one industry that we are very dependent on. Sorry about this connection thing. We do have one industry, but it actually doesn't result in a lot of property tax related directly to that industry. Right? Fishing industry, the boats are not taxable property tax, the wharves are not taxable, and so how that money is spent, if it's spent on real property, so better homes, all that, and the businesses that support the industry,
Yeah.
but the industry itself that employs thousands of people doesn't have a lot of property tax associated with it directly. 3-year change in tax base. So we are yellow here. This is comparing CPI to the change in your what they call uniform assessment, but that's the combination of your commercial and residential assessment. So even though we saw those sharp turns in our assessment charts, we're still not over the longer term, when you compare it to CPI, we're still not realizing a higher than CPI percentage increase. Residential tax effort. So this is the total residential tax revenue per dwelling unit divided by the median household income. So it's trying to say the average household income, how does that relate to the average tax bill? And we are at 4%. And the line, the cutoff between green and yellow is 4%. So we have just creeped into the yellow area.
Here's a question. Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm looking at this residential tax effort, and what was the equation there?
It was total residential tax revenue per dwelling unit. So how much is the average tax bill over the median household income?
Okay, so my question is, over the median household income across all of Yarmouth?
The town of Yarmouth.
Okay,
Yeah, so median is a form of average, right? So the thing about this is, and the reason that I think that we are just creeping into the yellow, is that if you look at municipalities, towns across Nova Scotia, we have one of the lowest median household incomes.
we also have the high, go ahead.
So that you know is a reality. You know, we have a lot of people who don't have a lot of income, and so we have to be aware of that and responsive to that. So that's just again something that the province calculates and feeds us back so that we think about it, we talk about it.
We also have the highest, I think we still have the highest amount of rentals.
We have one of the highest, yeah.
Okay, So, yeah, and social housing
Yes,
is the highest in social housing in the province, which should indicate, it should indicate income, because if you have a high income, you don't need social housing. So they're averaging that low number in with everything.
right.
It's not an average, it's an average, it's a way of measuring an average, but it's the
Median.
is the middle.
Yes.
So the line of everything, you take the very middle, so it's
Yes.
not like add them all together and divide by 10,000.
No, no,
It takes out your outliers, am I right?
Yep,
yeah.
Doesn't include outliers, so you don't.
Okay, good, because we've got the highest, you know what I'm saying, like, we've got the highest. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the middle
Okay,
of the line of numbers.
that's good, because we don't want to be,
Outliers are not included to skew the average.
yeah. Good.
okay.
Yeah,
All right, structural FCI. So the first one is, let's see here. Okay, go back here. Uncollected taxes, we're at 7.3% in 23-24. You are in the green category, your great category, up to 10%. We have been, when we were at our worst, and if you remember an earlier chart, I think we were 11, maybe 12%, and so that's when we made some policy changes, and this has been as low as around 6%, 5 to 6%. So at 7.3%, we're not that concerned. We only had 2 properties on the recent tax sale. That tells us that people are finding a way to address their taxes, and we didn't have an extraordinary number of tax agreements written this year either. So we do have a policy that if you fall behind on your taxes, we will work with you, but we have a very structured program that a clear set of rules that people can sign up for that requires monthly payments, and some people need that structure to help them stay on track, and so we've had pretty good success with that. All right, operating reserve. So that one's red. And let me explain that. That one is red, and there's another red one coming up. 8.1%. So you are red until you reach 10%, and then you're yellow. And when you reach 20%, you're green. And we kind of, we don't plan that way. We don't plan to hold 20% of our operating budget in an account just in case. What we do is we have 2 things that we do that make us unique among municipalities, and I think that puts us in a good place in terms of risk management. And when we've had to write to the minister and explain our strategy, the response we got was, keep me posted, and that was several years ago. So strategy goes like this. We allocate I think this year we're looking at $2.3 million for capital out of revenue. Okay, so that's $2.3 million that is not going to operating, that is going to capital, whether it's equipment or infrastructure. And we're debt-free. We don't borrow we haven't been borrowing, we haven't borrowed for a very long time for capital. So what that means is that we have oodles of borrowing capacity, and we have some room within our operating budget that if we had an emergency, if we had something catastrophic happen in the community and we needed money, not for capital, but for operating, we could not cancel the capital program, but we could borrow to cover that $2.3 million. So do a borrowing, take a debenture with the province, and that would free up the $2.3 million on the operating side, which is about 10% of your operating budget, and we could do it like almost overnight. A motion of council, and we're a motion. So that gives us the flexibility without unnecessarily holding taxpayers' dollars in an account. Gives us the ability to address our infrastructure and also be nimble enough if we do have an emergency. That strategy nobody else uses. They put money in an account and hold on to it and carry debt. This is a different approach. We don't spend money on interest unnecessarily. When we collect a taxpayer dollar and we spend it on infrastructure, none of that money is going to interest at this point. We will borrow someday, maybe not so far off in the future.
Yeah.
But
we've got room to do it.
But we have room to do it. Okay, so
just refresh my memory. So that 2.3 million is about 10% of the operating budget?
Yeah, very close. Yep. Okay. So what have we got next? We've got debt service. So in 23, 24, our debt servicing cost was 1%. That's very low. The threshold to get out of the green in terms of municipal indicators is 10%. 10 to 15, you're in the yellow, and above that, you're in the red. And what I've always understood, as long as I've been here, is that the province looks at 15% as being, you know, a safe, but kind of a maximum that they're comfortable with, a municipality carrying in debt, and we're at 0% now. Outstanding operating debt, I don't even know how you get operating debt, to be honest. We're not allowed to borrow for operating. So the threshold, however, for it, if you're interested, is 25%. Total outstanding operating debt over total own source revenue.
That doesn't make sense.
Makes no sense to me.
No?
Undepreciated assets. And so what is that? That is the proportion of your total infrastructure, total assets on your books that is not yet depreciated. And we're at 55.9%. The threshold for that to be in the green is they like you to be 50%, and moderate is 35 to 50%. I would suggest to you, I've always had a little bit of a problem with this calculation, Jerry, and I've done some work with it, and I don't think it really works the way, the ratio they use, I don't think actually works the way that they hope it does. You know, we spend a lot of money on new infrastructure, and a lot of times replacing infrastructure that is fully depreciated. And if you look at our numbers from 22, 23, 23, 24, our ratio actually went down. And I don't know how you do that if you're spending as much as we are on infrastructure. There's a flaw in the formula, and Jerry and I have worked with that, and we've even pointed it out to the province, and they don't want to hear it. So that's fine. We know what we're doing, and we know what's working, and we know even using their formula on a comparative basis, I think we stand well above our peers. Reliance on government transfers. This is how much do you rely on the money that comes from federal and provincial governments for your operations. And we're at 4.4%. You can look at this two ways. You can say, well, why don't we get more grants? Why don't we get more grants?
Well, you gotta match them, don't you?
Well, sometimes you do, yeah, sometimes you do. So that's just, you know, it's nice not to be too dependent on them. They like it to be less than 15%. We're well below that. And sometimes we do receive significant grants, but anyway, we're not dependent on another level of government for our viability. Number of deficits in the last 5 years is 0. That's good news. I think we had one last year, but this is not up as far as last year, and nothing bothers Jerry more than seeing a 1 in that column. Liquidity. So this is you know, how well can your current assets cover your current liabilities, and we're in excellent shape in that regard as well. They like you to be greater than 1.5, and we're certainly that. Finally, the other red that we have on our report card here is combined reserve. So that's capital reserve and operating reserve. And again, we're red, and it comes back to our strategy. And you know, we'd like to see those be a bit higher, but at the same time, we're not worried about it. And we don't think that you should be. If that's something you want to talk about in terms of the strategy, then obviously we're all ears and welcoming that discussion. But again, I think that our history has shown that we're doing okay. And that kind of brings me to the last slide. So infrastructure generally is your pipes, plants, streets, buildings, and equipment. Canada's infrastructure deficit was estimated at $270 billion in 2025. We have invested $89.1 million in our infrastructure over the past 20 years. Town Yarmouth has been debt-free since July 2023. So if you look at that, $90 million in infrastructure in 20 years is pretty good. And that doesn't include, the Mariner Center expansion and other projects since 23, 24. So we feel really good about that. We think our strategy around financing our own operations and capital is working, and that only happens with the support of council, and so I appreciate that. And that really is the end, I believe, of my presentation. So that is all context ahead of budget. Sorry that took a while, but thank you for your questions, and if you have any others, happy to answer.
Any questions? Good. Okay, so staff report, CAO report. Any questions for the CAO? Okay, senior safety report, we have that. Are there any questions on that one? Or we can always talk to Muriel if we have questions. Okay, fire department? Operational? Anything? Huh?
Sorry, where are we?
I'm at operational now, I'm halfway down the list.
Carry on.
Okay. Planning? Economic development?
You want to speak, Natalie? Yep. Natalie would like to.
Yeah, sure. Oh, I thought you were waving at her and she was waving back.
It's been a while since I've seen everybody, but we're all healthy. Just a bit of an update to the report that I submitted. Great news. The town has been awarded an additional 6th incentive on the Housing Accelerator Fund for 13 units, which equals $368,000 above the $2.3+ million. So congratulations to everybody. I think we're on track to achieve that.
Wow.
Good job.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to get us there. Thank you. Any questions? Thanks, Natalie. Go, engineering, Mario's here. That was a long list you had too. Finance will take care of, recreation, Frank's here. Any questions? Frank, are we going to get a TCRCE update for, we have a meeting next week. I'm just wondering where we are on an update for the schools. Sorry, Belle. Sorry about that. Yep.
Recreation advisory on Wednesday, April 1st.
Yep.
And it is on the agenda. I can say that things are moving along quite well.
Okay,
So talking universal agreements for all of our schools. TCRC is already looking at a new, to them, software package that would be available to custodian staff, all the people that are needed to be in the know when community activities are happening. The software is already being used in Cape Breton in their district. So yeah, lots of positive things have happened since we had our meeting with the superintendent.
awesome. Great. Go ahead, Councillor Hatfield.
Thank you, Your Worship. Could you give us a little bit more information about this volunteer summit that is coming up?
Certainly, I can.
Sounds very.
It's a new event that we thought we'd try to do during Volunteer Week. Because we don't have our volunteer provincial ceremonies anymore during Volunteer Week. They've moved them, once COVID hit and the schedule got changed, all those celebrations now happen in the fall. So we just thought that we'd start and hopefully have an annual type of event where volunteers gather, hear from experienced volunteers, hear from youth volunteers, and just talk everything volunteerism. So it could be information about starting up a not-for-profit organization, or it could be something about fundraising, could be something about recruitment and retention. So it's a day of talking all the things that volunteers do. It's coming up on Saturday, April the 25th. It'll be held at the newly renovated Rotary Center at the Hebron Recreation Complex. And I think last time I looked, I think we had 22 registrations already, and we're expecting more to come in. Like most people wait till the last week to put their name in. So April the 25th, something to celebrate at the end of Provincial Volunteer Week.
Great. So for anyone interested, it would be what if you're thinking of, if you have some time and you want to see about volunteering opportunities? I mean, I'm just trying to think of what's the breadth for people to attend this event. Should it just be people that are already volunteering for networking, or is it like everything?
Yeah, it's pretty much topics covered from seasoned volunteers to new volunteers.
Okay, great.
I can send around an agenda for the day just
Yeah,
for your information,
that'd
so
be
you
great.
can help us spread the word.
Thank you very much. That sounds great.
Anybody else? The budget regarding capital projects, do we have that at the next meeting as well?
For capital, I've submitted a list of items for consideration, I guess, but,
Do we-
so Jerry would have that list.
Okay. Oh, that's all, that's it, okay, all right,
It's all
No, we got-
in your town capital list, yeah.
yeah, okay. All right, I'm good. Anybody else? Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
Okay, strategic planning, was there anything you needed to share there? Okay. Oh, sorry, you gotta yell.
Thank you, Worship. I just sort of wanted to make a comment that that I see this seminar, this volunteer seminar, as in alignment with the town's strategic priority with regard to, cultural support. And so, yeah, I'm just really pleased to see this happening.
You know, there's a lot of folks out there, and we know this, that think if something happens, the town does it, and the opportunity for people to understand if you want something done, you can do that yourself, and recreation can kind of walk you through that. So that's helpful too, get more things done. Okay, property, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, my voice is going again. I guess I did have a question maybe for Frank. Apologies. Knowing that we need staff to run the gyms, and knowing right now there seems to be a lot of parents that are interested in seeing more gym time, is there any opportunity for parents to be able to be trained to open the schools so it wouldn't cost anything to rec, but have some of the parents be involved in operating the schools when they're, like the community use, when you, instead of having a student, if you can't get one at, we'll say Carleton School, and knowing that parents want to see their kids active, could they possibly volunteer for that?
We have that model in place for the summer use at Yarmouth High. So we don't do community use of schools bookings at Yarmouth High just because the gym is so busy with school sports. But we have that model for July and August where we just meet with groups, get them to sign a form. They're responsible for the security of the building. We give them a pass card and away they go. 0 fees. And I think, yeah, where you and Francine have had the volleyball camp there. So that is, I think we're in coming up on our 4th season of that. And when we've engaged with TCRCA talking about community use, that was one of the first things that I mentioned to Craig Crosby. The advice that they're getting is that we don't change from the model of having a staff person on the door for security reasons. But I don't think it's something that, it may be from school to school that maybe we can work on something like that model. But we did bring it up. They did have some issues with it, and at that time, they said they didn't want to change anything with the delivery model that we have at the moment.
So those conversations are ongoing, right? Because what we were looking at was standardized, right? Because one school shouldn't say no and the next one say yes. That's
So, and within our
next we sign.
And within our region, every rec department operates a little bit differently. Some of them just give the key to Johnny because Johnny has been running the volleyball group for 30 years. Some of them have a supervisor like we do. Some of them, maybe they have a teacher that's a member of their basketball group, so they let them in.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the challenge to do this universal agreement to still accommodate everyone the way they're used to being accommodated, and or make the changes where, and Jared Purdy had said that at our meeting and said, you know, he's probably guilty of that himself with, you know, some of the times that he's used school facilities.
And I mean, until it's just said, and we did say, like, we signed some big checks. Like, they're public schools, but we can get into some and not into others.
And-
So it's just, there needs to be a way, whether it's what Councillor Lesser is saying, which makes sense, but the goal is the ability to get into those schools regardless,
Right,
right? When they're free. Like
When
the
they're
high
free.
school is,
right.
You know,
And a
it's-
lot of schools
it's that.
have activities that they plan in the evenings and weekends too. So, yeah, but there should be plenty of time around
Exactly.
those school times.
okay. All right. We good? All right, thank you. Okay, property damaged by fire or storms policy. To recommend the council make no amendments to the property damaged by fire or storm policy as recommended by staff. Okay, so moved and seconded. Any discussion on this one or questions for? Okay, all those in favor? Aye, contrary? Motion carried. To recommend that council pass first reading to amend the public places bylaw to prohibit urinating and defecating in public. You know, I think I just posted something like this today. Like, you have to tell people not to do that. Yes, you do. Yeah, no, oh, I'm not surprised. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Ken. Thank you for making that motion. Then seconded. Any discussion beyond what I'd like to say, but I won't? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. Sorry, Mike and I just had this conversation. I wrote body-worn camera policy, to recommend the council adopt the body-worn cameras policy as presented. Okay, moved, seconded. Discussion on this one? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. To recommend that council approve the financial documents shredding list as presented. Okay, so moved and seconded. Discussion on this one? I asked Jerry how long I said, how long is the budget presentation, just so because Belle and I have a thing to get to. He said, you know, the whole thing should be okay as long as they okay the shredding list, and that doesn't go on too long. Oh, my gosh. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary? Motion carried. If you can't have fun at work. Okay, grant policy discussion. So what did we decide there, Lindsay? We were going to just discuss, or did you do anything? Oh, awesome. Yeah, okay, we can do that. So the garden club, I think, we got the letter here. I don't know if everybody had a chance to read it. It was emailed, but the motion, we can make any motion you want, but I think the motion would be to have the garden club present at a future meeting, if that's what you wish. I mean, we can't do anything with this today because it's so, but. Okay, so moved and seconded. Discussion on this one? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just quickly, I'm having read the letter, I know they talk about the sign at the corner,
Yeah,
and my recollection is that sign was installed by the YDC with the permission from the town. But it wasn't a town initiative, it was the YDC.
okay.
And I think at the time, they were supposed to list all the businesses that were on Main Street as well, but that sign is definitely not being used to its maximum, and could we not, at this stage, authorize the removal? To speed things up, or do we have to wait for a presentation?
I think I have a question about that sign, because I think we actually do use it, but I'll ask Mike to clarify.
Are you talking about the
Brown
test?
Street.
Are we talking about the Brown Street sign right on the
Yeah.
corner? Yeah, so there's nothing on it right now, but we do use it, like during the summer months, mainly for large events, car shows, Seafest, that sort of thing. And when, if we have Music Week or another event like that, we use it to welcome delegates and that sort of thing. Frankly, the design isn't the best because it only allows for like 4 large sign blanks. So I had thoughts to maybe refurbish it so I could put more content on it and have a cover so that it's easy to protect the letters because they get blown away in the wind as well. So it does get used, but
Okay. I think the future is that that kind of sign should be replaced by something electronic.
Yeah,
Can be changed from here in a heartbeat. Yeah, anyway.
and just, I don't think you're allowed signage that looks like that, period, on Main Street for businesses, unless I'm mistaken. We probably shouldn't have it ourselves. But anyway. Okay, so did we vote on that one? Okay, all those in favor? Aye, contrary? Motion carried. Okay, so are you good now, Linz?
What you got?
She did one of those,
Yep. Yes, get your phone out. We're going to play.
I love them.
All right. Sorry? Okay. Hold tight. We'll get you your connection information. Show joining instructions. Okay, there are your joining instructions on the screen. Nobody out there is allowed to play. Okay, so scan the QR code or go to menti.com and enter the number on the screen.
You playing?
I don't get to play, I don't get to vote. I'm the master of ceremonies.
Okay.
You can scan it, or you can just type into your browser menti.com, menti.com.
Yeah, I'm in. Yep.
Derek, are you in? Bill, you're in?
Is anybody not in?
You're in, Steve's in? Oh, 6 have joined? 6 have joined.
Wow, that we have
job.
only 7 of us, so we're good.
Natalie, put your phone down. Okay. Okay, everybody's in, all right. So this Mentimeter has to do with our grants policy. So that we talked about at several meetings that we'd like to amend, fix our grant policy, make it better, make it easier for you folks and clearer and hopefully more significant for the applying public. So we asked you for questions and we received questions. Some of the questions we already have within our policy, is that correct?
Yes, if they don't appear on here, I have a reason why.
Okay.
Yep, good.
Okay, so we'll get started. So the first question is, should organizations that give away money, that make grants themselves, be eligible to apply to our grant program? So should they be able to apply to us and then, how do I do that? What? H? Turn off responses. Is that it? We got 5 no's.
Enable comments. Pretty sure before people answer, you have to press H.
H? So I got to beat them to it. Okay, so we got 6 no. I think we're unanimous there. I think we know what to do with that as far as policy is concerned. Thank you very much. All right, next screen. Only certain expenses shall be eligible to receive a grant. So the suggestion was that meals and accommodations should not be eligible. And I think this relates to event hosting. So only certain expenses shall be eligible to receive a grant. Agree or disagree? We have 5 responses. We're still waiting on, there we go. We have 6 responses. Lindsay, how do I reveal the answer? H? There we go. 5 out of 6 agree. Are we satisfied with that, or do we want to discuss?
Give an example of an organization that would utilize this.
So the example that was used in the write-in, I can speak to it, and anyone else can elaborate. Last year, when the Mariners hosted the All-Star Game, part of their budget included accommodations and meals for, I think, for visiting players. And so this policy would require any similar event applying for a grant to not include those sorts of expenses. Derek has a
Yeah, Steve, good.
Yeah, so I guess I'm to disagree, just so we know. But for me, the committees that we have, we often allow, obviously, travel and accommodations for things as well. So I guess for me, my thought was if it's good for the geese, it's good for the gander. That's just kind of where my thought is. There may be extenuating circumstances that sometime allow this. I was happy to support the All-Star Game. I think we're the show, right? And just to be able to support the Mariners in that. And I think if we're doing it for things that we think is important for us, that sometimes it may be important for committees and stuff as well. That's just my point of view on it.
Good. Go ahead.
I guess you can guess how I voted based on what Steve said. My only concern is if there's if they wanted to spend money on this, they could potentially just rework their budget and say, we're not going to spend it on that and still apply for money. Like there's a way around that possibly, unless we're saying if you're giving money out for accommodation and meals that you're not eligible at all. I guess I'm not really sure of the wording on that, but I'd rather not see the money used for meals and accommodations for people. That's why I voted agree. But potentially you could submit your grant and just say we need money for ice time, and we already have the meals covered, and then possibly get around that. So
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Lesser. It's just the same concern that I have. I don't have a problem with the town not directly contributing to accommodations and meals, but I would be very concerned if that meant that programs and or events that are bringing talent, for instance, into the community, and we're looking for support for sponsorship, for ticket sponsorships or support for some other requirement that's needed in order to host the event, that they wouldn't be eligible to come to the town if they're obvious, if that's included in the budget for the event. So, I mean, I voted yes because, because I understand that when you support something that is in direct competition with your businesses, it can be a problem. But I think it's important for the council to recognize that there are many events that have accommodations and hospitality written into their business plan, and they usually are able to get sponsorships for that. And I'm going to give you an example. When we host Symphony Nova Scotia, there's no way that we can bring Symphony Nova Scotia here and pay their accommodations. So we go out and we look for sponsorships that will help to mitigate the costs. I would hope that that doesn't preclude us from being able to come to council, any of the councils, to ask for help with student tickets or some other part of hosting that event. So that's where my concern is. And so I think the policy would have to be very explicit in identifying what we mean.
Okay. Anyone else? Yep.
I agree exactly with what Councillor Hatfield said. I think it's semantics. Like you could easily work your budget in to say we're gonna use this money for something else. But I mean, the actual pot of money that's going to be spent on each, we don't really have control of. But I wouldn't want to see us not sponsor events because they require accommodations and meals. But it'd be nice if our money wasn't being spent on that. But really, it's just, it all goes into one account, essentially, and then that gets split out. So, at least I think the application should be for what it's going to go for towards instead of, like if you're saying you're going to use it for meals and accommodations, I don't think our policy should accept it. But I think we should allow people that have accommodation and meals, which would happen a lot, to still apply for money for something else in it. But
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so would it be satisfactory to council, would it satisfy everyone's interest here if we just simply ask on the application form, for them to break out money to be spent on meals, accommodations, and specifically how our money is intended to be used? Would that, and then you can make a judgment for yourself on your allocation? Okay. Thank you. Yeah, great discussion. Thank you. We'll move along then. And this is perceived benefit will be a factor in deciding. And I think we were talking about economic here. Lindsay, do you have?
Fest comes in, for example, it's not really helping the downtown core at all.
Right, so the idea, I think, and this came up at the table in discussions in the past, I believe, is that an event like RibFest is a it's a fun event if you like ribs, and I do. But it really, at its core, it's portable, rib vendors coming to town, selling a lot of food and leaving. And while there may be some enjoyable factors about it, I think when you think about economic impact, it might actually be negative for that event. So I think that's what was being asked here. And so do we want to, the question, I guess, is do we want to consider perceived benefit or economic benefit as a factor when awarding grants? So place your, oh, sorry, unless there's a
Yeah,
question.
hang on, go ahead, Eric.
Just thinking that for Ribfest, for example, the group that's putting it on gives money away, so they would be able to apply anyway.
Every penny.
But, right. So it doesn't really pertain to that. I don't think they'd be eligible to apply for a grant anyway, but, yeah, anyway.
And we've not, I'm glad you said that, we've not looked at it that way, I think, in the past, because everything that comes in goes right back out to viable groups in the community, right? Like, viable groups. However, that's our choice. That's what we give to. Tough one, but, okay, all right, so what? Perceived benefit would be a factor. Yeah.
We have 5 out of 6. Thank you. Oh, says you've already answered it. But you don't think you've answered it? Okay, I'll reveal the answers and you can declare yours if you like. Okay, go ahead. Secret ballot. Very good, okay, so we, thank you. So we don't have to go any further with that one.
These are freaking awesome.
All right, so next one is organizations can apply to both a tax and an operating grant. Do you agree or disagree? Is it a yes or a no? I know we've had lots of discussion about this, but it hasn't actually been in policy, so this will help us.
5-1. Yep, Somebody
Not yet voted, or?
there it is.
Oh, there we are. Okay, so here you are. Here's your answers. 4-2. You want to discuss?
Yeah, we should discuss, I mean, we should discuss, but go ahead.
So I'm one of the two. Seem to be on the low side of things sometime, but oh well. I just believe if you need that support, you should be able to get it. I think sometimes organizations who are starting up don't have a name for themselves, so the ability to put it out there to fundraise wouldn't be as great as someone that's established. I believe that tax dollars that support these organizations that give us back services and stuff really deserve it. A lot of that, the people who are involved are volunteers. It makes our community better. So for me, I do take in consideration if I would give one, then I may not give an operation as much. Just, if you're getting $50,000 from one and you're asking for $5,000 in operations, you may get a bit less, but I don't think it should, exclude you from doing it in my sense, just because, your taxes are paid and now you have no money to operate. Well, that's great. What are you going to do, to be able to help? And we are talking about organizations that do help our community, so that's why I voted yes.
Can I ask you a question before you turn it
Yes.
over? So, and I could be, I'm one of the 4, obviously.
Right.
But, and I thought it was going to be 5
The other way?
and
Right.
5 and 1. So is a tax, so you don't consider taxes part of the bills that come in, like power and stuff, you don't?
I look at it as overall support needed.
All right.
And if you don't have the ability to pay your taxes, you probably don't have the ability to operate.
Yeah.
So if we could help you somewhat in that, it would be good. We already have a $5,000 max for operations anyhow. So, it wouldn't be through the roof, but I think it would be in the back of my mind if we give a large chunk to your tax relief that you may not get your ask for operations as much, but I don't think it should be like, now you're good. Because, you know, startups, that's the big thing, right? How do you get your name out there if you're not proven? And it's probably hard to get support from other sponsorships or ways. So I believe if we can do as much as we can to support our organizations that are helping out, then that's why I voted that.
I didn't think the overall, that's why.
Yep.
Yep, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. And I was the other yes vote. And I based my experience on my time with the Yarmouth County Sports Heritage Museum. Their annual tax bill was in the area of $4,000 or something like that. But it was fully staffed with the exception of the odd time when we were able to secure a summer student, then we had to raise the funds to pay the summer student. I saw that the difficulty they had is that they don't have a marketable product. They just have a donations at the door entrance fee, which is, you know, not a guaranteed income by any stretch of the imagination. While I was there, I witnessed and participated in the fact that members of the dozen or so members of the Sports Heritage Museum that were involved in the committee were actually purchasing equipment out of their own pocket because they didn't have any funds to do that. And they were purchasing equipment that protected the displays that they had. Doing the work around the museum, volunteers kept it open for the majority of the time, and we had great volunteers. But without without the full tax grant, and without some help with the operating, then summer student wouldn't have been hired, wouldn't have been able to open as many hours as we'd want to. So they were a struggling organization and not one that has marketable product. So anyway, that's why I voted yes.
Good. Anyone else? Okay.
Yep.
What's that?
We need decision, we need direction.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, but you've
Well,
talked about it, so now I think
Yeah.
if you're,
Yeah, I'm good. If anybody's not good with, or you want to change your vote or anything like that, you can change your vote at this thing. Go ahead, Ms. Bell.
Thank you, Your Worship. I struggle with this a little bit. I have a problem with providing tax grants to an organization and then having them come looking for an operational grant for just because they can do it, you know, because there's $5,000 up to $5,000 on the table. I have some concerns, though, about limiting organizations who are involved in a special project from participating in the grant program. And I don't know how to square that because I really, you know, I'm not that fond of seeing organizations putting grant proposals in every year just because they can. You know, the grants should be, there's so little money and there are so many causes that I want to see every dollar used to the maximum and really benefiting the community because we are redistributing tax dollars. And that's what I think all of this push and pull is about, because every one of these grants that we issue is our value saying, we're going to take your tax dollars and we're going to redistribute it for you when, as a taxpayer, maybe I want to make my own contributions to a charity. You know what I'm saying? So I take it really seriously because it's not a lot of money. And I think it's important. I really think it's important and it does great work, but I want to see projects that are really making a difference in the community supported. That's kind of why I said no.
Yeah.
so we're good?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, we will move along. So intakes should be 3 times per year, 30% each, with 10% held in contingency. Agree or disagree?
That's a hard one.
Oh, we're there, okay. So I take my eyes off the screen and the sixth vote comes in. 3-3. I guess we need to talk.
Well, for once, I'm not on the lower end, at least. For me, I just believe if we're going to really stick to a strict, not a lot of people outside of the, the spring intake, the fall intake, if we're going to refer a lot more things to our grants policy as we have been lately, like the requests that came in from Life Skills, maybe in the past we would have considered that, right? Some people got some special ins just by kind of going outside of the process. So if we're going to really stick to it and do it, the ability to break it up into 4 months sections instead of 3 months or 6 months, right, would just be easier. Because sometimes things pop up that may be last minute, but the ability to get rid of that 10% contingency would be even less if we have more chances for them to put, their requests in at a timely fashion. So for me, it's just more about ease of operation and the ability to spread that money out evenly when people need it and not just have a big chunk in one, a smaller chunk in the other, and hope for the best. Just boom, 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 more streamlined, more equitable, I believe, and just easier to hand it out and easier for the organizations who are applying to apply in a timely fashion.
But still just once a year, you can apply once a year, yeah. Go ahead, go.
Yeah, so I took a while to make a decision on this one, only because I do agree with having at least 2 application possibilities throughout the year. Personally, I think 2 is enough, and that's why I hit disagree. I just thought that we have the 2 plus the contingency, and I just thought that, why create additional work for the staff? And if we do it and we say, well, we're going to do it the 1st of April or the 1st of September every year and advertise that, then people know. But then I think just adding that extra one was just a little bit of more work on behalf of staff and us deciding which ones get grants. And it's, I can't see it being all that much of a difference. So I just wanted to stick with the 2 and 1, 2 in contingency.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor.
I was a yes or agree, because I think we've had times in the past where teams, and it tends to be in the summer, will get, they'll win provincials and they go to nationals, or win regionals and they go to provincials, and they're looking for money at that point. And a grant might determine if they can go or not. Hopefully that wouldn't be the only deciding factor, but I know in the past we have looked outside of that and think, well, it's worth it because they didn't know at the time. So I think a third one allows possibly those that I think it happens more in the summer, I'm guessing, with travel, but it would allow, because if you're applying in April, you wouldn't know if you made it to nationals, for example. I'm thinking like softball or baseball. You wouldn't know in April that you weren't going to make it that far. You would have already spent your money by the time the September one comes, and you're hoping for the grant. And like I said, hopefully you're not depending on just the grant, but I think a third one makes it a little bit easier to accept some of those.
So I think that's what we agreed the contingency was for, right? Like those last minute, because you're right, and they could come in the winter as well because there's hockey teams. So either way, but there is a 10% there, but I hear. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was comfortable thinking that the contingency could be applied for at any time.
Yeah. So
it didn't have to be after the other 2 application processes had been completed.
Yeah.
And then you go into contingency, that anytime there's a necessity that wasn't anticipated, and if that happens in August, then so be it. So that's why I was comfortable with the other 2.
Go ahead.
Just keep in mind the contingency is about $4,500. So if someone did apply and it was a big ask, that could be right in one, to one thing. So I guess my idea behind it was we make it easier for them to apply in a regular intake and really have that for an emergency. That's just where my thought was there.
Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This is an incident where I would sooner switch than fight. I'll change my vote.
Yeah.
Well, I don't need to say anything then. If it's, I mean, I don't agree.
Okay, so we can try that?
We're going to revote?
Well, you can revote if you want. Can we reset that, or we?
Like, is it a lot more work for staff? Because that's where I was. It was just 3 times for staff, and then 3 times we're filling it out and trying to figure out. So that's the only reason for me. Like, you know, that was,
We won't have to hire another staff person.
no,
but-
I know that.
Bill? Bill?
Go ahead, Bill, sorry.
Do a show of hands or something, because I'm not sure how to reset
Oh,
this.
okay,
If we're going to vote again, then I will say something.
yeah, well, we're going to
I
have
would,
to show.
I would just ask a question.
Yeah.
What's the distribution, the variance in the distribution now between the April and the September intakes? Is there quite a bit of variable, right? There's many more applications. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay,
In the spring, there's more than the fall, right? Yeah, so we haven't even developed enough of a habit within our community to fully participate in that splitting in 2. And I think that it's confusing to now split it in 3. Just
Yeah.
don't think that I think
I agree.
it's bad policy to keep making changes. The public is not keeping up with us. And I just think that they're going to get confused by the changes. And I think we haven't even caught up to the double
Yeah,
admission through the year, so.
go ahead, Gil. Go ahead,
You know, they say an argument always sounds good till you hear the other side.
right?
And I just heard the other side. And there's some logic to that the public hasn't really, don't really know that there's 2 intakes. That's not widely known, and they don't know that there's a contingency. So maybe, until that information gets cemented into the community's mind, maybe we are going too far by saying 3 and 1. And the thing about policy is it's written on paper and you know, it's a guide to the wise and a rule for a fool. And it can be changed, but the problem with changing policy is that does cause confusion, and the counselors were correct. That could cause confusion. So I think we're back to 3 and 3.
We have to get, we have to get word out there. I mean, it's up to us to make sure they know, but it's up to them to understand when that happens too, right? Like it's a two-way street. I mean, I'm looking at you, Mike, but you know, it's always our fault when people don't know, but you put it out there. You know, we're going to have to really push it. Well, we don't know what to do here. Go ahead.
Well, a tie usually means it stays, right? It's not enough to change it, right?
Right.
When we vote, like a tie would mean
I thought of that,
that it would stay, so it stays. Like, I was just making my point of how I arrived there. I'm not
Yeah.
set on it, right? But I'm good if it stays the way it is, if we do a better job getting word out.
We
I'm
do
fine
have
with
to do
that.
that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair, thank you, good discussion. All right, should there be a limit for tax grant requests? And I think what was suggested here,
Yes.
Lindsay, was percentage or, sorry? That's the next slide, sorry, getting ahead of myself.
No, but it's good to know.
Should there be a limit for tax grant requests? That is a threshold, that is a limit, and we'll get into the details in the next slide. Don't get ahead of yourself. Brendan and Lindsay? Six, okay, and here is the 5-1, okay, so a lot think there should be a limit. Steve, what would you like to say about your one vote?
It's not me this time. I just believe that there's a certain pot of money that needs to go around, and if, you know, one organization is getting $100,000 and another is only getting $5,000, I believe in the percentage. I think that's a better way to do it, just to be fair. And yeah, it has nothing to do with the value that anyone provides or the services. It has to do with, I think we usually give away about $185,000. We have $400,000 in requests. There's only a few ways to spread that around, and if we did it a little more fair, I think some people wouldn't so much feel like they're targeted if they don't get what they ask. And I think it's important to let our organizations know we care for what they do, but at the end of the day, the magic pot of money in the back room really doesn't exist. So the easier we do it with policy, the better way we make it fair for those who apply.
Good, go ahead.
I don't think there should be a limit for the request. They can request 100%, but there should be a limit to what is granted. That's the perspective
What's the difference?
there is a difference. They can ask what they want, but.
Yeah,
All right,
okay.
so we have, there should be a limit, so we have 5-1. Okay. If yes, tax grants will be limited by, now you got to pick. Oh, gee, hi. Percentage or dollar value? Okay, so we could say that the maximum tax grant that any organization could receive would be 90%, 70%, a percent of their tax bill. Or we could say the maximum you could receive is $5,000 and a dollar amount. So is it a dollar value is the maximum grant, or is it a percentage of their tax bill?
Everybody?
Do we have 6? I'll look away so the 6th person can vote.
Please wait for, no, I think did everybody vote?
There we go. All right,
Okay.
here we go. And 5-1, so percentage. So we'll have to talk about that. If we are going to say that you shall not receive, nobody can receive a grant above a percentage of their, is this the next slide? What the percent, no, okay. If you can't receive a grant of more than X percent, what is X? Right? Would anybody like to suggest what X would be? It could be 100, it could be, could be 90, 50.
I'm hanging on. Go ahead, Cal.
I don't know, it's more complicated than just that. It would, so if you had a tax bill of $50,000, another person had a tax bill of $1,000, what was the question again, Jeff?
What percentage of that, like, so?
Well,
we're gonna-
if you did, yeah, I don't know, that's a tough one. I think you'd have to see the pot of money that you have to work with, and then the amount of requests, and then possibly make that decision then beforehand, like have that discussion.
So it's a maximum, right? It is
Yeah.
a maximum. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you have to give the maximum.
Okay.
It's like, what is the, so another way of saying it is, how much of a tax bill should an organization absolutely have to pay without our assistance?
Okay, not saying that it would necessarily get that.
Right,
Okay.
right. It's the minimum they would have to pay or the maximum. that they-
Ask someone else.
Gil?
Gil?
Oh, I think it has to be based on need, on expressed need. So I'm having a hard struggle with saying 50% because one organization, you know, might want the relief, but somebody else might need it more than that. So I'm having a real hard time picking a percentage and saying, let's stick with that.
So can I just ask a question? Is it okay? So I think we, in our policy, we're talking about need as well, right? So you would put that on there? Like, you would put need with it? So, like Kelly said, $100,000 tax bill, and we put 75%, or whatever the number is, they would get $75,000, which is
No,
like,
that's the maximum.
that's the
If
max
your
that they
average is-
could get, right? So you know the need for that is not there. You could give them 20. You could give them nothing. You could, right? So does that weigh what you're saying? I'm just trying to,
I think, I'm just saying, to my mind, putting a percentage on there
yeah,
is arbitrarily deciding that this is what we're going to do,
Yeah.
rather than looking at the need
okay,
and having that discussion, or doing it the way we do now, where we all sort of put our heads together, but just saying 75% or 50%,
gotcha.
to me, that limits any input from the part of, it limits the consideration for the need that they have,
Okay, I hear you.
and so I have a problem with that. I mean, if we're going to do that, then I'd just assume it'd be at 100%.
Okay? That's what I was asking. I didn't understand where you're, okay, go ahead.
For me, I know when I do this, I take very much consideration about money in the bank. So if you have 150,000 or 250,000, or maybe you're an organization who has the provincial government who has agreed to give you 250,000, say, for the next 3 years, your ability to pay that would be a lot more than an organization that may not know funds that are coming in. So I do agree with Gil. The need is very important to consider. Like I said, I find this is one of the hardest things that we have to do to figure out who gets money, because some people take it as, if I don't get what I ask, then you don't value what I do. And that couldn't be farther from the truth for me. I really take into consideration financial statements. I also take in consideration one of the first questions. If you're an organization that's giving out $35,000 a year, and you're asking us for $35,000 for a tax, break, you have the ability to do that. Like, I'm sure, if I asked my parents for $10,000 and they gave it to me, and then they see me buy a $10,000 TV, they wouldn't be, that's not a good loan, you know what I mean? So being responsible for the money that's there and making sure we give it to those organizations that really need it is very important to me. So I do take into consideration what you have readily available, or promises that you have from other levels of government or other sponsorships that may help you be able to do this. So the only reason I did say percentage for me is because I think policy sometimes protects us as counselors, or as stewards of this money, that we can't go over a certain amount, and there is still some responsibility on the organization to do it. But Councillor Dares had a great point there. Not everybody has the ability to go there, and
Yeah.
So I do take what everyone says. But like I said, the money in the bank for me is a big one. I know there's organizations who have started here and got a whole bunch, and now they don't, and they might be mad or whatever about that, but you've got money in the bank, you've got money coming in, you can afford it, right? It's about how we can spread this around and continue to support our organizations the most. It's not personal.
Yeah, I agree. Councillor Hatfield.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. I would recommend that the percentage be up to 100%. And because this is, for me, the tax grants are very nuanced. I take a lot of things into consideration when I'm doing the tax grants. I take into consideration whether the property is a property that used to be on our tax rolls and has been arbitrarily taken off of it by an organization's choice. I take into consideration what their financial capacity is. I take into consideration what the services are that they provide, and whether those services are municipally municipal services or whether they're provincial services. There's just a lot of things that I take into account when I'm making that decision, and I'd like to have the capacity to be able to give up to 100%.
Go ahead, Councillor Lesser.
I think the deputy's point, to me, it makes more sense to look at it. I mean, I said percentage as well. But it's hard for me to give a grant to an organization that has money sitting in the bank, because I look at it as they're applying because it's money available to them, as opposed to it's money that's needed for an organization to continue to run. So if there's other levels of government that are giving money, or if you're giving money away that could have been used for taxes, that makes it a harder decision. I don't really care about the percentage as much. I think I was probably the one that asked to have it added, but yeah, I guess I'm trying to eliminate having to defend when we're not giving money to an organization. And part of the reason, I think, for me is because they don't need the money, because they have money, like their financial statements are showing they have money in the bank. Or we also know that they've given money away to other organizations. If that's the case, and the reason going back to giving money to other organizations is that group should have really applied for the tax grant. So if you're a group that's giving money to, we'll say the Hospital Foundation, then the Hospital Foundation should have just been the one to ask us for it, because us giving the money away, then they're deciding how the taxpayer, like the organization's deciding how the taxpayers' money is being spent. So that makes it difficult. I think that's probably why we voted on that. I don't really care, I guess, the percentage, but I wanted a safeguard in place to prevent people to just apply for 100% and expect 100%, I guess. But I guess that's, the safeguard is our vote, I guess, I don't know.
So there's not we can't give 100% to everybody, right? Because there's not enough money. So I can say this, like sitting here talking about this has helped tremendously. And I think, maybe it's just me, but I think it's everybody. Like, we've read the applications, we've looked at who has what money in the bank, who has given money away, who has, you know, all those things. And we've looked at them, thanks everyone. We've looked at everything, and I think we're gonna look even closer now, right? Like, we're gonna look even closer, make phone calls to each other. I mean, we can do that if we don't understand. So I wrote down some, and I think everybody said them. I can't justify to the taxpayers that we're giving money for taxes when they could have been paid by money that was given to other organizations. I can't do that because you don't need the money. I always look at the bottom line as well. Gil, your words around the need really, like, it makes a difference as long as we're looking and we're saying, like, is the need there? It's not about, I wrote one more thing. It's never about, we don't base our grants aren't based on how much we get shamed, right? Like in public, because that happens. I mean, it happens all the time. But I'm also good at 100% because that gives us, that means we are even more liable or, you know, responsible to really dig in and see what's what. And yeah, I think that's important. Who's going?
It's me. It was just, I agree with that. So when Jeff asked, what would the percentage be? And I'm like, I don't know, ask someone else. That was perfect because that gives you the room to make the judgment based on need and be able to justify it.
Yeah.
And for little organizations that are really struggling, maybe they do need a 100% tax break,
Yeah.
right? I like that one.
Yeah. Oh, Derek, did you have you're good? Okay,
So we have consensus? Perfect.
good.
Awesome, thank you. All right, do we have more questions? Yes, we do. This one, So there will be no fall grants in an election year, yes or no? So fall grants would happen kind of around nomination time. Agree or disagree?
I do have a question about that. We won't do them at the normal time, and we will still have them after the
You can
election?
certainly still have them.
Okay,
The
yep.
question is really geared towards
Yep.
the normal time,
Yep.
conflicting with the,
All good.
with the
Thank you.
election schedule. And it is an offense in the Elections Act to promise something, so just,
Well, good, it should be.
okay, here is your results, 4-2.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to bring up the example of the bus service and the fact that we decided prior to the election that we would remove the fees for the bus service. And in camera, we all agreed that there would be no announcement made until after the election because we didn't want it to be an election issue. So I've seen no problem with, the elections are held in October. For that election year, postpone the application to the end of October. And I think that might be a reasonable way around it. And you're right, I mean, there are people out there that will say, use that as an election issue, and it shouldn't be.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's actually one of the best things I think that have happened in my term, timing council, is making a decision of that impact, and everybody agreeing that it would look really bad to announce that going into an election. It looks like you're buying votes. But I do think, like, I don't know how much the public realizes how terrible this process can be. And it's, you know, you get elected to make decisions and you're thinking you can make decisions that affect, you know, people's lives, and this could. But I think the thing that we probably talk about the most and disagree with or, you know, debate are around tax grants. And there's not a lot of money involved, but it's not, you know, I think some people think we just don't give it because we don't like them, and there's so many factors that go into place. But it is, for anybody out there that wants to run, it's, you know, get your hard hats on because it's not a fun one to deal with. So I think a tighter policy is going to really help us. It's going to help us because the public's going to know ahead of time what to expect instead of thinking they're going to get 100% right away.
I disagreed. Go ahead, Cal.
No, I had put disagree because I was thinking we were penalizing potential organizations or potential grants from going out to organizations that needed them. But where it was just a delay, I couldn't reverse my vote after that. Where it's a delay, that makes more sense. Like, whether it's a delay or an announcement, a delayed announcement, that makes sense. But as long as that process is not avoided altogether.
So that's what, yeah, and I was the other disagree for exactly what you said. Like, I don't want somebody to lose out. What do you mean, we can't do grants because there's an election? And then I always think like integrity, like who's gonna say, what, and I shouldn't ask this question, but, you know, who's gonna say, well, you know, vote for me and I'll make sure you get, but it's not about here, it's about, you know, the world of what people think. Yeah, so I'm glad that's, and because we averaged them out, I was okay with the, you know, but I can go to agree. Go ahead.
I like what Councillor Bashira said about a delayed announcement. Even if the sitting council at that time does make the decision, but it's not, you know,
Yeah.
set until after the election, just so it doesn't look like, you know,
Yeah.
because it could be hard, like if you have an election where, you know, there's 5 new people at the table, that could be hard to make those decisions, you know, a week in, here we go, right? So I think it's more about just not grandstanding and trying to get votes, or as you said, to you know, could make the decision and just do the announcement after the election so it doesn't affect anyone's choices in any way, shape, or form.
I'm just gonna say one more thing. that, what you just said, I think is really important. I'm good to put it off, but that the sitting council makes that decision. Because that is really not fair for people to walk in and have to deal with this right away. Like, we're how many years in and still it's difficult? So that wouldn't be fair. So maybe we can we write that in?
Does everyone agree?
Does anybody, yeah, are we okay with that? Or do you want to talk about it? Are we good?
So,
The issue I have is that, there's times that information escapes. If you don't have the information, you can't tell.
so
Yeah.
one of the things,
I come from a world of
Oh, I hear you.
don't need to know. And if you don't need to know,
Yeah.
you don't.
No, it didn't leak for the buses. Yeah.
so we can make sure that,
Yeah.
right, the results you won't know, you'll only know your own submissions, right?
It's even better. Well, look at us go. Okay. All right.
Okay, I think we're done. Thank you very much. That's really helpful. I think really helpful for us and probably helpful for you guys. It was some good discussions there.
Very.
Oh,
Yes.
Sorry, before we move to the next agenda item, Lindsay did have a list of things that were submitted in email that are already covered within the application. But if anybody actually wanted to speak to any of those, speak now.
What were they? I don't remember what we said.
Okay, I'll read word for word from email and then just give my explanation.
Okay.
So financial statement and budget are necessary, doesn't have to be from an accountant, just a simple accounting of finances. So we do require these already. Updated application, as this one is a bit choppy, so I didn't put that in there. I just need direction on how, if you would like the application changed, in what way? Or do you think it's good?
Okay.
Is-
I have, yeah, I was going to say I have no problem even looking
Right.
at it.
That was my response. It's just sometimes when things come in and we get the photocopy version, it just seems like things are here and things are here, and like, I just like a more streamlined, like maybe just like one question and it's all listed below instead of like numbers kind of everywhere. type
Formatting.
deal. Yeah, just so
Oh.
when you
Just
look at it,
formatting.
you see it in a nice, clear vision as opposed to like, are they asking for 5,000 or do they have 5,000 in the bank? And you know how sometimes
Okay,
the
yep.
photocopy doesn't come
That
through?
makes sense.
Just so it's pretty, I guess.
Okay, that's helpful.
That phone number, the phone number there makes me think people are asking for $74,000 every time.
A place to ask how much in the account is readily available. So would you like just a clear statement on what is the balance in the account? Yeah, okay.
Does that tell us anything,
I don't know.
without knowing the commitments?
The expenses, yeah.
The balance.
Just a question.
I mean, I've got money in an account, but I'm building a house. I can tell you that. There won't be any money in the account when I'm finished.
Okay.
So we asked for a budget, we asked for an income statement, and we asked for a balance sheet. Right? So if you want to know the cash balance at the moment, like the end of the fiscal year might not align with, for instance, the fall intake. So you might be interested in that, but I kind of agree, Gil, I'm not sure from an information perspective, does it help you a lot? Maybe not.
They might have just completed an annual fundraiser, but the funds that they use for that
They won't put it in the bank until they fill out the
won't
application.
stay, so.
Okay, so Lindsay's
yes.
going to have to know.
No? Yes or no?
We putting that in? Whose question was it? Or, I mean, it doesn't, you don't have to say whose it was. So. Huh? You had some good ones.
So for me, it was just, if you have $200,000 in the bank, what you choose to do with it is up to you. I think Gil made a great point about maybe you had a fundraiser and that could skew the numbers a little different. But
Yeah.
I guess for me, it would be really hard to give a tax break to someone who I know has $250,000 sitting there. How you choose to use that is up to you, right? So, if you didn't choose to use it to pay your taxes is one thing. If it was a fundraiser and specifically for something, that is a total completely different understanding to me, but we could go deeper into the actual finances then, but I just think it would be nice to be like, oh, okay, because my mind doesn't give as much if you have that. I tend to support the organizations who I know have nothing more so than at least, and even if you had $200,000, at least someone's recognizing what it is you do, right? So your ability to either raise that on your own or get grants or whatever would be better from other organizations or levels of government.
Go ahead. Oh, who's got the light on?
I think shoot. Wow. My mind went blank. What were we talking about?
Oh,
Right.
It's not just me.
The amount of money you have in the bank, when you provide the sheet, you have the opportunity in the application to also say, this much money is already earmarked for something. So that's why, the need is there because of something, correct? Like you can still explain it in your application, but I think it's important that we see that amount.
Check her in.
Okay, so this is kind of the same thing. What funding will be used for? Detailed answers on how funds will be spent. We do ask this. I guess, is the question around like what budget item are you planning to spend our funds for? Because we do ask generally, why do you need it? What will be spent on? So we do ask this already. I don't know if I was missing something there.
I don't think you were missing. We do it.
I think we answered it when we did partly the accommodation and meals.
Okay,
Like, just to make sure that,
sure.
Good point.
yeah. I mean, I know you can work the sheets in a different way to make it, but
But you know what? It's not up to us to, that's the hard part. Can't put a thing there, are you being honest? Well, I get you good.
So the next one, follow-up reply before being eligible to apply again to tell us how funds helped. We do request a report on how funds. We are not the best in making sure it's in before they request them again, so I can make a policy amendment that would require you give us an after grant report before you get another one, and if you don't get that in, you're not eligible.
Yeah?
Yeah?
So here's, oh, sorry, Steve, you gotta yell at me.
No, that was me again. And the reason why I think that is, once again, being responsible for public money. If we give it to you and you told us that you were going to do this, but then you don't, you could pull the wool over our eyes every year and continue to. So it would be nice to know that if you asked for this money and it was supposed to go somewhere, that it was spent that way.
Yeah.
And then therefore you did, and myself, I love reading these thank yous and these reply backs of seeing what that money actually did and the difference that it made. So I just think that's a good full circle. And I think responsible people who are responsible for the money we give would have no problem doing that because it's almost like a thank you because of your help. Look what we did together, which to me is a great thing for council and organizations to know we care and they care as well what they're doing.
Okay, so are you okay then with them coming in throughout the year? Like, is that fine the way people are doing it, or it's by this deadline we want it? Or is it fine throughout the year as we get them current?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Make that.
Well, I can look it up either way.
Okay. Yeah, keep going.
Okay. If the organization event supports people from the region, did they apply to other units in the province for funding, showing that they understand that because something is located in town, it does not mean we are solely responsible. There is a specific part on the application that, did you apply to Argyle, the province, and Modi? If yes, how much? So that is on the application already. Financials and clear budget, we asked for this. And then it said, perhaps a note up front advising that complete form must be filled out, otherwise application will not be considered. So that is on the application already. I guess an only follow-up question to that, do you even want to see incomplete applications? Because it's kind of been my practice in the past, I will note it's incomplete, but I still show it to you.
Okay, so that's something we have to, that was my question.
Yeah.
Because, and I'll tell you why. There comes I keep saying it, but there's got to be responsibility. This is two-way. We'll give you money, but you need to be responsible for at least giving us the information without you having to call them 10 times. That's just not right. That's not being responsible. So I don't know how others feel, but I don't mind till they get used to it, you know, a call here and there, but not every time, 10 times.
So if they do submit one and it is incomplete, do you call them back and be like, hey, you've got till another week to get
Yep.
this? Okay, perfect, okay. So at least they know, and if they don't, it's on them, right?
Yes. And that's what I'm saying, like,
Oh, yeah.
like once.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
have
you shouldn't be spending time
Won't be
3 or 4
So
times.
do you
but
not
like-
even want to be shown the application then if they don't complete it? Yep. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. I don't want to see it. Right?
You should note that on the application form, that
Yes.
incomplete applications will not be brought to council.
Yeah,
That's all I got.
that saves us. Okay. Good stuff, Lynn. Thanks. That was awesome. Still okay there, Chris? You haven't fallen asleep or anything? And you won't be applying for a grant. But if you do, you know how to do it. Okay, so we have 3 pieces of correspondence there. You can take a peek at those. And then we had the additions taken care of, and we've got in camera? Okay, all right. You've got a couple? Okay. And then Bell, they don't feed us until 6:15, so we're good till 6:15. Yeah. Yeah, let's go in here. Yeah, motion to go in camera, please.